There's a moment in an old podcast episode where Matt and Shane start talking about a failed boat invasion in Venezuela. But if you actually listen to what they're describing, it's not really random. They casually outline the entire modern regime change playbook: bounty, money, private contractors, false flags, media spin, all as a bit. And that's what makes it kind of funny and extremely interesting. Back in 2020, there was a real event called Operation Gideon. A small group attended an amphibious landing in Venezuela. The Venezuelan government claimed it was backed by the US. The US denied involvement, as always. Two Americans were captured, and then there was already a public US bounty on Mr. Maduro, reportedly up to $20 million. In the episode, Matt and Shane start riffing on this, but instead of treating it like a one off news story, they frame it as something almost like a formula. That's the difference and the key. One of the funniest lines is when they compare a $20 million bounty to a backup quarterback money, which is kind of hilarious. It's a joke, but underneath the joke is a real observation. Modern geopolitics has turned into financial incentives. Instead of ideological crusades, you see bounties, private contractors, reward money, outsourced operations. It sounds absurd, like a video game contract mission, but that's also how it's structured. Comedy works because it compresses truth. They reference private firms offering to instill democracy. That sounds ridiculous, but companies like Blackwater have existed. Private military contractors are very real. The idea of a small private group attempting regime destabilization isn't conspiracy. It's historically documented and extremely relevant right now. What they're joking about is how thin the line is between official state action, plausible deniability. They compare the attempted invasion to a scene from Pineapple Express. That's not random either, because a lot of modern political events feel absurd. A small boat from Florida, a dictator on TV holding passports, public denial from Washington. I mean, come on, it feels like a movie, right? The dictator imagery, they joke about fat dictator clothes, aviators, green uniforms, staged military drills. It's pretty funny. It's also a media optics analysis. Authoritarian leaders often lead into military symbolism, uniform theatrics. The bigger picture is this is where the episode becomes more than jokes. They're not predicting the future, they're identifying the recurring mechanics: public bounty, private actor involvement, failed attempt, false flags, blame the US, deny involvement. That pattern has shown up in multiple countries across decades. The reason this bit feels predictive isn't because they're political analysts, it's because once you understand how these systems work, you start seeing the repetition. One of the most fascinating parts of modern geopolitics is plausible deniability. Governments rarely move in clean, declared lines anymore. Instead, you see layers: official statements, unofficial actors, private firms, false flags, independent patriots. When something succeeds, it gets framed strategically. When it fails, it gets disowned. That gray area is where most modern instability happens, and when comedians reduce that gray area to a punchline, it reveals how thin the separation really is, and you've been seeing a lot of this lately. Notice how quickly the story shifts from failed invasion to foreign interference to political theater to fake news. Every side builds its own narrative, and that's another pattern. The event itself almost becomes secondary. The narrative war starts instantly. That repetition is part of why this felt predictable. What makes this era feel strange is that political events increasingly resemble entertainment formats. Bounties with dollar amounts attached, private teams on speedboats, televised strongmen responses. It feels gamified. It almost feels like a GTA mission. And when something feels gamified, it becomes easier to joke about because it already resembles fiction. Comedy doesn't exaggerate, it just strips away the seriousness.